right? And rewrote every word in his seminars. He wrote in advance, so he could tell everybody when somebody asked a question, in 3 days from now we will come to that. This you call thinking. I call this pedantic. I call this what? So, also, again, the point. There is not really, when you have lived in the American way of life, also, I mean, New York actually, don't care about Ohio. Then you don't want to go back to Berlin, not even to Berlin. And think of Dresden, Leipzig, Nuremberg, whatever. Thank you very much. You want to live in New York and only think European thoughts, that's true. But only both makes it. And so far, I think we in exile, you are in exile here, I'm in exile in New York. We people from the exile, we are the only ones actually who are able to get the productive power of this. It's the confrontation of these two kinds of.
Well, New York is a very peculiar place, don't you? I mean, you know, when Bush was elected, the joke was, well, at least we live on the island of New York, okay, so it's not going to be a problem for us.
But for me, the problem is, you know, are there Americans outside of New York? I'm not sure of that. You know?
New York is already Europe.
That's what I'm trying to say.
But this is not true. This is absolutely, for somebody who lived in Europe, Abital, remember how narrow-minded even the people in Berlin. They are still are. They are still are. Now they are Americanized, but they are extremely narrow-minded because they have their idea what means serious thinking. So you start, so by Heidegger, you start first to say this guy was such a shame or whatever. Before, after 3 hours, you might go to talking about being. You know? So it is in no way something which is a role model. So what you have to do, that is my question to you actually. You should be so feel blessed, using American word, that you could escape both Europe and America. And that every time
in Scotland, is it? No.
Scotland is so, this weather alone, you know, is so worse that you get depressed. You know, also the point that you have an escape route, that actually your life is kind of an escape possibility. Whatever they do to you, you can throw it, but you are a family father, so you have some limitations here. But usually you can run away. Run away with your thoughts and not sell them to them who kind of give you the best. And that's only possible because you enjoy and trust that the in-between, this exile life, and so on, exile you choose, it's not an exile they force you to, it's not the exile of people getting thrown out of Germany, for example. Right? And that is actually what these guys are here. They know that they have to go back to America. They know that they will, when they go back, they will feel it's terrible. I tell you, people from the second year, they know it already, but the first year, it's bad time. 4 weeks, even the best American sex will not live up to that, you know. When you go back, you will miss this place so much. Not the place, not the food, but the thinking. And then you will say, oh, I come back. Things like that. But the point is, we don't want you to stay here. Don't want to stay in Europe. So the point is to go back to experience both worlds. And that is where actually it comes from. And the so-called, it's a fundamental thinking, as you said, a non-fundamental fundamental thinking, because our questions are fundamental, but we are not expecting any answers here, or we would ask Osama, that he has better answers to that if we need one. So, no, it's not the answer, it's the ability to go into a place that you will, all of you do that in the future in America. You go there, and when somebody says something, you say, start by, I disagree. And not with this or that. Basically, you are totally wrong. Take out the ground, take out the field. It's not there, you're just fooling yourself. And if they say something, you just say Heidegger, and then, okay. Good. Also that is, as you know, my usual commentary on him. So now back to the question part. Please, Rita.
Thank you very much for something that affects so many those who traverse all sorts of maps and go back and forth. And of course you you managed this yourself by asking, I think, at certain points, and certainly maybe point 3 of Granell, what properly belongs to Europe or America? What about the ricochet, the boomerang effects? Almost like the vineyards that are transplanted in order to return to France. I mean, I wouldn't stabilize Europe and America, especially now, where America is really maybe only not in Cuba, or I don't know where it ends at all. But I wanted to maybe say how sad I was to hear this, because there was, I thought, unless I'm projecting entirely, a melancholic register, a melancholia without hauntedness. And that's perhaps what I wanted to address very briefly. And also the autobiographical incursion here, which is not typical of your writing. Am I correct there?
Yeah, I mean, this is like a little bit of a letter.
There's something, a letter, a lettre, I don't know its destination, and so on and so forth, or you're refusing to tell us its destination, though there were some hints. But the autobiographical dimension serves to nail your points, because one can't say it's swept away from the places of truth or falsity. This is your attestation, your testimony, something about your history in relation to thought. So one can't say yes or no even, one can't approach. So knowing that we can't approach, can I now approach, please? Permission to speak freely. So your Europe, it seems to be particularly unhaunted, because one could say that Europe, let's say provisionally what we might agree constitutes Europe, is one of the most scandalous, endangering perversions of thought in a history that is broken. We can't even speak of history anymore, thanks to the collaborations and complicities of thought and Europe. I think Jean-Luc says that somewhere, that it's unprecedented what happened when the philosophers marched with the Nazi Party, for example. Not even in Plato would it have been imaginable that the philosophers, or so-called thought, just collapsed right into an actualized state. And so this would be one question. I don't know if you're interested, you can just throw it out, give it a big, quick exit visa. But I do want to speak on the one hand of the endangering, let's say, reaches of so-called thought in Europe. That it's true, maybe American indifference or stupidity and so on is a major defense or ballistic shield against some of the horrors that go under the name of thought in Europe. This is just a question. On the other hand, I wanted to tell you a pleasant little anecdote that you may or may not be amused by and want to respond to. And that is when a philosopher came to Berkeley at the time I was there, and she was stopped by the police, so she was late to her own lecture. And she said, "Oh, in my country, red means green." And he said, "Okay, don't bullshit me. What are you doing here?" And she said she was going to give a lecture in philosophy. And he said, "Oh, my favorite philosophers are the pre-Socratics." And she remarked that this could never happen in Europe, with this, that a plumber actually knows is a Husserl fanatic, or and so on, because Europe also has the who gets to advocate thought. So these are just little things for you to work with if you want them.